The current was running 6 miles an hour. The raft was moving upstream, against it. Ranger Anthony Vasquez couldn't believe his eyes. His training offered no explanation for this. A yellow inflatable raft, small against the canyon walls, glided toward him, but it was going the wrong way.
This doesn't make sense. Nothing on the water moves against the current. Base. This is Patrol 7. I've got a raft drifting upstream on the main salmon. Repeat, upstream. No one on board.
He paddled alongside, the current fighting him the whole way. The raft was empty, oars locked in place. A Forest Service issue model from the 80s, still perfectly inflated, as if it had just left the warehouse.
No damage, no water inside. This raft hasn't been on the river long, so how is it here?
In the bottom, a single black dry bag, cinched tight. He pulled it into his own raft, his stomach tightening. He sat motionless, the dry bag heavy in his hands. Whatever was inside, he already knew it would change everything. He unsnapped the dry bag and pulled out a worn leather logbook. The cover was stamped with the old Forest Service emblem. The pages were filled with precise, old-fashioned cursive. The first entry was dated the 1st of August, 1987. Inside the cover, a name, Ranger William. No surname. Just William.
William. I've never heard of a ranger named William out here. This canyon doesn't have that many ghosts.
The early entries were routine. Then the tone shifted. Wildlife acting strange. Can't shake the feeling I am not alone.
He was out here by himself, just like me. Felt watched. I know that feeling.
He flipped to the final pages. The last dated entry was the 15th of August, 1987. All clear. Then the pages went blank.
No more entries. What happened after the 15th of August? The raft was floating like it just launched.
The canyon was famous for one mystery, a ranger who vanished without a trace in the summer of '87. His body was never recovered. His name was William. Anthony closed the logbook tightly, his knuckles white. He wasn't done with it. The river had delivered a message he hadn't asked for, but he had missed something. Tucked between blank pages, a single entry dated the 18th of August, 1987. Raft holding. Current reversed. Heading upstream toward the put-in. Will report back.
3 days after he disappeared, he was still writing. How is that possible?
Anthony checked the date again, tracing the numbers with a finger. The 18th of August. No mistake.
The current reversed for him, too. He went upstream, just like the raft I found.
He stared at the entry until the ink blurred. The raft had been drifting upstream for over 30 years.
I need to get this to the cabin and lock it down. Now,
he sealed the logbook back in the dry bag and tied the yellow raft to his own with a tow line. The current still fought him, but nothing felt right. The river had stopped making sense hours ago.
William never made it back, but the logbook did. And now it's coming with me.
He paddled hard for the patrol cabin, the yellow raft trailing behind like a ghost that wouldn't stop following. By the time he reached the gravel landing, the sun had dropped behind the canyon rim. He hauled the yellow raft inside and locked the cabin door, the bolts sliding home with a final sound.
Base, this is Patrol 7. I've recovered a ghost raft, logbook inside, securing both at the cabin. Over.
The dispatcher's reply was a burst of static and a broken voice telling him to hold position until morning. He hung his PFD by the door and lit the oil lantern. The yellow raft sat in the corner, a silent accusation. He sat down and pulled the logbook closer. The cabin felt smaller than before. He flipped through the last pages, sketches of the canyon, notes about the water moving wrong, and the same phrase, over and over.
It's getting darker. I should sleep, but I can't put this down.
The canyon went silent. And somewhere in the night, the river kept running the wrong way. The oil lantern threw shadows that moved like breathing. Anthony found a page where William had written, "They are watching from the rim."
Who? There's no one out here for 40 miles. He was alone, just like me.
Then a sound cut through, Steady, rhythmic, like a paddle knocking against a raft, it came from the river.
It's just driftwood. The current carries all kinds of junk at night.
He saw nothing but his own reflection, and behind it, the suggestion of something tall among the pines.
Base, Patrol 7. Requesting weather update for the canyon. Over.
Static. Not even a signal break. The canyon had swallowed his transmission whole.
Don't go outside. Whatever is out there can wait until dawn. Keep the paddle close and the logbook closer.
The lantern burned low. The knocking stopped, but the silence that replaced it was worse. He didn't sleep, and the logbook stayed open, its pages waiting for more words. Dawn came pale and silent. Anthony jerked awake. The paddle clattering from his lap, the cabin was freezing.
The raft. I need to check the raft.
He looked to the corner. The yellow raft was gone. The dry bag and logbook sat untouched on the table. He rushed to the door. The padlock was closed, tight and undamaged. No sign of forced entry.
I locked it myself. The windows haven't been touched.
He went outside, circling the cabin. Only his own footprints marked the dirt. No other disturbance.
Base, this is Patrol 7. The raft is gone. It was inside a locked cabin. Do you copy?
The radio crackled with static. No voice answered. He returned to the table and stared at the logbook. The empty corner felt like a missing limb. His reflection in the window looked older, hollow. Something had taken the raft without touching the lock. Still on the table. The dry bag looked heavier than before. He opened it and found something he'd missed. Tucked under a flap, a dried flower, and a faded photo of a young ranger in front of this cabin.
That's William, and he looks wrong. Like I am looking into a mirror. Base, Patrol 7. Need personnel file on Ranger William. Missing 1987. Priority request.
The reply was a burst of static, then a clipped voice. Records restricted. Do not pursue. Then nothing. He thumbed through the logbook again. A note he'd overlooked. I see someone ahead on the river. He looks familiar.
He saw someone who looked familiar. Was it me? Could it be possible?
Anthony put the photograph face down on the table. He told himself to stop staring. He couldn't. He kept glancing at the faded image, the face that wasn't quite his, but wasn't a stranger's either. The cabin felt smaller still, the walls pressing in with a question he hadn't asked yet. Anthony pushed his raft into the current and paddled upstream. He had to see the spot again.
Every bend, every rock. I know them. I've never been this far up before.
He reached the bend where the yellow raft had appeared. The water churned wrong, a memory without an origin.
This is where I belong. No, stop thinking like that.
Something orange caught his eye, snagged in driftwood. A life jacket, faded and torn. He pulled it free. The label read, Coast Guard Approved 1986. It was identical to the one in William's photo.
His. It's his. How long has this been waiting here?
He looked down at his reflection in the water. An older face stared back, his, but not his. He dropped the life jacket into the raft as if it were evidence. The canyon was already coaxing him to write. He returned to the cabin with more than he'd brought. Something was filling in the blanks of his own story. Night dropped like a shutter. Anthony's head grew heavy. The logbook blurred before his eyes. He dreamed he was sitting at the table, pen in hand. The logbook was open, and he was writing, but his fingers moved without his will, forming words that slid out of focus. He woke with a jolt, hand throbbing. Blue ink stained his fingertips. He yanked the logbook open, searching every page for a new line. There was none.
I didn't write anything. Then where did the ink come from?
He scrubbed his hands at the pump, but the blue clung to his skin like it had a claim. In the window, his reflection looked back, older and wiser than it should.
The logbook stays with me. Whatever it is, it won't write without me knowing.
He dragged the chair to the corner and sat, the logbook held tight. waiting for the next word. A storm rolled in at dusk, hard rain hammering the cabin roof like a warning. He lit the oil lantern again. Sleep was out of the question tonight. He opened the logbook, hoping routine would ground him. The pages felt heavier than before. Then he flipped to a blank page and froze. Fresh blue ink, today's date, his own handwriting. Raft holding, heading downstream. Will continue patrol.
That's my handwriting, but I didn't write this.
He pulled his patrol log from the shelf and held the 2 pages side by side. The loops, the slant identical.
I wrote this. Somehow, in the night, I wrote my own fate.
His hand shook. Outside, the wind screamed, but the storm was inside him now. He stared at the words as if they might vanish. They didn't. They were waiting for him to understand. He laid the 2 notebooks open, pressing pages flat. The same loops, the same slant. Every letter matched his own hand. He flipped through his own patrol log, searching for any other surreptitious entries. The rest was his. Only his. He checked the door, pulling at the padlock until his fingers ached. Same as before, untouched, unbroken. He rummaged through his gear, looking for hidden cameras, planted notes, any physical trick. Nothing.
There's a hole in my memory between midnight and when I woke. It's like something wore my hands. Sleepwalking doesn't do this. Possession is a word I don't want in my head. I won't sleep. I'll watch the logbook. If it writes again, I'll catch it.
He dragged the chair to the table and sat, paddle across his lap, the logbook open in front of him like an enemy. The wind hammered the walls, but he focused on the pages, daring the ink to move. His eyes burned with exhaustion, but he refused to blink. The storm screamed on, and he waited. The storm broke at first light. He stood, stiff and hollow, and walked out into a world scrubbed clean. He went to the riverbank, his boots sinking into the mud. The canyon was silent, holding its breath. Then he saw it. The yellow raft, small against the dark water, gliding upstream as if on a conveyor belt. It drew closer, steady and impossible. He watched it with a dread that had no words. For a split second, a figure sat in the raft, a ranger in uniform, paddle across his knees. It was him. He stumbled back, heart hammering. When he looked again, the raft was empty. No one there. Just the current going the wrong way.
That was me. I was on that raft. When will it happen?
The raft continued upstream, smaller now, a yellow dot swallowed by the mist. It didn't belong to him, but he belonged to it. He turned and walked back to the cabin. His reflection in the window looked back at him, older and more worn than it should.
I know now. I'll be on that raft someday, maybe someday soon.
The cabin had an attic, a crawl space he'd never opened. He pulled down the stairs with a cloud of dust. A dry, rotted box held old manila folders. He pulled one free. The label read, William R. Missing. He opened the folder. A missing person flyer from 1987 was on top, paper yellowed and fragile. The description, male, 5'11", 180 pounds, dark hair, brown eyes, a scar on the left hand from a childhood accident.
That's my height, my build. And the scar.
He slowly turned over his own left hand. The scar was there, pale and unmistakable, crossing the webbing between thumb and forefinger.
I got this scar when I was 8, a camping trip, but that's impossible.
Beneath the flyer, a newspaper clipping. Ranger missing in Salmon River Canyon. William's photo looked back at him, his own face.
William. That's not just a name, it's me.
He closed the folder and sat in silence, the scar on his hand throbbing like a second heartbeat. The cycle was not a theory anymore. The logbook sat on the table like a trap. Anthony grabbed it and carried it to the stone fireplace.
If I burn this thing, maybe the loop breaks. Maybe I go free.
He opened the logbook and held it over the flames. The fire licked at the pages, but they didn't blacken.
Why won't it burn? It's paper. It has to burn.
He dropped the logbook and tried to tear a page out. His fingers cramped. refusing to grip. He slammed the logbook shut and sat back, breathing hard. The thing wouldn't let him destroy it. An echo of William's voice murmured in his mind, "You know what you have to do."
I can't destroy it. The river is calling me back.
He picked up the logbook, opened it to the fresh entry. The words were still there, waiting for him to obey. Heading downstream. Will continue patrol. He felt the river pulling at him, a current he couldn't resist. He packed his dry bag and pushed his raft into the current. A scheduled patrol might keep the madness at bay. He rounded the familiar bend. The yellow raft was there, drifting upstream as if it had never left.
Number. Not today. I am not stopping. I am not towing it.
He dug the paddle in deeper, forcing his raft past the yellow one without slowing. His heart hammered against his ribs.
I don't tow rafts. I don't tow rafts.
The raft slid by, inches away, silent save for the wrong way wash of water. It felt like a held breath.
I am not like William. I won't let it pull me in.
He risked a glance over his shoulder. The yellow raft had turned and was following 100 yards back, steady and patient.
It's following me, just like the logbook said, heading downstream, continuing patrol.
He kept paddling, refusing to acknowledge it, but the river carried the raft behind him like a promise. Back at the cabin, he pulled out his own patrol log, the one with his name on the cover. Routine was all he had left. He wrote, 1700 hours, returned from patrol, no contact with subject raft. The pen stopped as if waiting. Then the pen moved again, unbidden. His hand swept into curves it didn't recognize. The words that bled onto the page read, raft holding, current reversed, heading upstream. He stared at the elegant loops, the slant of a man dead 30 years.
This is William's hand, and it's coming through me.
He didn't pull away. He let the pen guide him, writing the rest in the old script.
I'm ready.
He closed the patrol log. A strange peace settled over him, the kind that comes after a decision made. Tomorrow, the river would have its ranger, and he would go without a fight. He untied his patrol raft at dawn, the river glass smooth, the canyon held its breath. Around the bend, the yellow raft waited, still and patient, as if it had never moved from this spot.
It's been waiting for me. No use fighting anymore.
He tied his own raft to a boulder and stood at the water's edge, the yellow raft nudging the shore as if inviting him. He stepped across, the rubber firm beneath his boots. The raft didn't rock. It held him like it had expected his weight. He sat, and without a paddle, the raft began to move. Upstream, against the 6-mile current.
This is the only way. The river doesn't let go of its rangers.
He didn't paddle. He didn't need to. The canyon walls slipped past, and the mist closed around him. The sound of his own raft bumping the rock faded behind. He was alone on the raft, but not alone. The raft rose and fell gently, carrying him into the canyon. He didn't look back. The mist thickened, and the world dissolved into a white shroud. He lost all sense of direction, of self. Then he saw it. A raft capsizing in Whitewater, a hand reaching up, fingers grasping at nothing. William's last moment.
That was him. That was me. I drowned here. I drowned here.
The mist parted again, and he saw himself, older, wearier, sitting in this same raft, writing in the logbook by lantern light. The logbook materialized in his lap, solid and worn, open to a fresh page. The pen was already in his hand. He wrote, raft holding, heading downstream, will continue patrol. The words flowed from the pen like they'd been waiting for decades. He dated it tomorrow. The loop would hold. It always held. He closed the logbook and placed it beside him. The raft moved on, steady and unceasing. The canyon walls were gone. Only the river and the mist and the man who was no longer just Anthony Vasquez.
I am the ranger of this river. I always was. I patrol forever.
He woke on the gravel bar, chest soaked through. The mist had lifted, leaving a hollow calm. The yellow raft was gone, upstream and out of sight. Only the river kept moving. indifferent. He untied his patrol raft and paddled back to the cabin. Each stroke felt like someone else's motion. At the table, he filled out the patrol report. Subject raft unaccounted for. No further action needed. He sealed the logbook in the dry bag and left it on the table. It wasn't his to destroy or keep. He closed his own patrol log, the last entry spilled over with William's cursive. He shut it without looking.
The river will wait. It always waits.
He loaded his gear onto the raft. The paddle felt familiar and foreign all at once. He pushed off into the current, heading downstream. The season was finished. He was not the same. He didn't glance back. The canyon kept its secrets, and so would he. He submitted his patrol report without a word, sliding the envelope across the counter. On the assignment board, his old section now bore a new name, Ranger Morrow, Whitewater. Next season, a faint, cryptic smile crossed his face. The river would have its next guardian. He walked to the supply room, a place he rarely visited, and scanned the shelves. He selected a fresh leather logbook, indistinguishable from the one still in the canyon. At his desk, he set it beside a photograph. Him and William, two copies of the same ranger. He opened the cover. The first page was empty, patient, waiting to be filled.
The words will arrive when they need to.
He closed the logbook, thumb tracing the spine. The cycle was intact. He would ensure it. Beyond the window, the river was quiet, but he felt its distant current tugging at him. Before the season opened, he drove back to the put-in alone, the new logbook silent on the passenger seat. At the water's edge, the yellow raft was already there, as if the river had grown it from the gravel.
It's already here. It was always here.
He placed the dry bag inside, the new logbook sealed within, then knelt on the rubber floor. He opened the fresh logbook, its blank page hungry. The pen touched down, raft holding. Current reversed, heading upstream toward the put-in. Will report back. He dated it 3 days from now, after the new ranger's first patrol. The bait was set.
The words will do their work without me.
He pushed the raft into the water. It hesitated, then turned upstream, moving against the 6-mile current with ancient patience. The canyon swallowed it. The raft, the logbook, the promise, all absorbed into the river's endless loop. The yellow raft drifted deeper into the mist, its shape softening until it was a ghost of yellow. The canyon held it, cradling the raft in its ancient silence. From the rim, the raft was a speck, going the wrong way against the river's silver thread. Downstream, a blue patrol raft appeared, a ranger starting his season. He paddled with quiet routine. The two rafts passed, one upstream, one downstream, never meeting, separated by mist and time. The ranger in blue didn't pause. He didn't see the yellow raft, and the yellow raft didn't acknowledge him. The cycle held. The logbook's pages turned, invisible, and the river carried both of them home. As the mist closed, the canyon returned to its stillness, and the only sound was water moving the wrong way. The river doesn't give up its secrets. It only collects rangers.